All right, this video is going to be about histograms. So let's look at our learning target. The learning target says I can create a histogram and I can talk about the distribution of the data. Our essential question, what conclusions can be drawn from a histogram? 3 math practice standards are 1, 3, and 4. We have several key terms and they are lengthy, some of them, so feel free to change the wording so that it fits your understanding. Just try not to lose the true meaning. Histogram, that is a display and it shows the distribution of data. The range of the data is divided into intervals on the x-axis, and the frequency, or how often those things happen, is going to be listed on your y-axis. Frequency table, this is something we will use to help us with our histograms, is a list of items or intervals that show the number of times something occurs. Our next term is interval, and that is the set of real numbers with the property that says that any number that lies between two numbers in the set is also in the set. And that's a little confusing, but when we draw our histogram, I think you'll understand it better. Distribution, that is the arrangement of values in a data set. Gap, and I'm not talking about the store, but that is a break or an opening. Cluster, that is a group of things that are close together. And then peak, that is the point of maximum frequency. Now there are 3 special things that have to happen when you are working with a histogram. First thing is that the intervals that you create have to be the same size. If you go 0 to 10, then you would have to make sure that your next interval also included that many digits. Bars are drawn of equal width, so it's very important that you have your ruler and that you have measured things out. And finally, bars should touch. This is not the same as a bar graph. Bar graphs do not have to touch, but in a histogram they do. Now we're going to move on into an example. You do not have to copy the example down. I'm actually going to give you a copy of this example. So just pay attention to the things that I've done, and I've already created some of the information and set up parts of the histogram so that it would not take as long to do. In the question, Mrs. Miles gave a test. The class of 16 students had the following scores: 75, 80, 65, 80, 95, 85, 65, 80, 90, 80, 70, 85, 90, 70, 85, 70. What we're asked to do is to make a histogram that will show this data. Well, the first thing that I started with was a frequency chart. Now, in that frequency chart, I've done something for you. I have already created the intervals. Okay, and the way that I did that was I looked at what my numbers were. I looked at the lowest score, I looked at the highest score, and then I tried to figure out a nice range that I could use. And then if I'm going 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, 90 to 99, I'm going to be able to encompass all of the values, and all those intervals are of the same same amount. Now, the second part there is tally. So what we need to do is we need to go through the data and we need to find out how many scores fall into each one of those intervals. In the 60 to 69 interval, there are 2 scores that are there. So we will mark those 2 here using tally marks. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually write it out in number form here. Just makes it a little easier for us when we start drawing our histogram. For 70 to 79, there are 4. 80 to 89, there are 7. And 90 to 99, there are 3. Once we've completed our frequency chart, then we can come over and we can create our histogram. Now, I've also set up this already. Using my ruler, I measured out and decided that since I used the full side of the ruler, I used the entire foot, I made each one of my marks here 1 inch apart. And then here on the bottom, I don't need a full 12 inches. So I made sure that I had space here that was, these are all 2 inches in width. And I could continue on, but I don't have any information that would go there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my first interval here. And I'm going to label it 60 to 69. Now you notice I didn't start at 0 because my scores don't start at 0. So I am going to have to leave a little gap, one of our vocabulary words, in between. Now, I can go ahead and fill in the rest of my intervals. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my frequency. So for 60 to 69, there were 2. So I will take my ruler again, and my line will go up to the number 2. Now this is going to be a little difficult on a whiteboard, but you'll get the picture. Okay? And it's going to do the same on the opposite side. And then we would simply draw a line across the top, and we would have our first bar. Now, some people are particular about the way that they label their bars. Some people may like to put the number up here at the top so that you don't have to actually follow along and figure out where you are. As long as it lines up, you should be okay. Going on to the next bar, we have 4. So our next line will start right where this one is. And it's going to go up to the 4. I can do this without making a big mess. Okay. We will slide over to the next one. Again, going up to 4. And across. Oops. A little bit off, and I would put 4 there. I'm going to continue on through 89 through 80 and 89 and 90 and 99. I'm going to go ahead and do those without stopping between each one from this point on. And that is my completed histogram that shows the distribution of the scores that Ms. Miles gave on her test.